Hi friends, it's Janine Richards from Q101. Welcome to The Tour Life. Grab your all-access pass and join me behind the scenes of the music industry. Together, we'll discover how to live happier and healthier lives doing what we love. Today's guest is a musician and proud trans man who actively supports trans visibility both in and out of the music industry. We first met a few years back when he got his big break playing bass during Beth Ditto's solo tour for her album Fake Sugar. And he is once again grabbing his bass and hitting the road on Gossip's comeback tour for their new album Real Power, produced by none other than the legendary Rick Rubin. Throughout the episode, he shares his journey from the grassroots DIY scene in the Pacific Northwest to international stages, highlighting not just the thrills, but also the significant challenges of tour life. A crucial aspect we discuss is the topic of safety, how his tour family navigates the complexities of different cultural environments and creates safe spaces for themselves and the fans, especially in regions where being openly queer can pose additional risks. From discussing safety protocols at venues to sharing personal anecdotes about staying alert and prepared, this conversation sheds light on the often overlooked aspects of life on the road. Here's my conversation with the fabulously courageous and talented Teddy Quo. Hi, Teddy. How are you?
Hi. Good, Janine. Thank you for having me.
It's so good to talk to you because we only really, we spoke kind of in passing because we met when you were touring with Beth Ditto. And I saw you at the Sam Smith show, and I saw you there was like a Lincoln Hall show, but you were super fun.
In Chicago.
Yeah. And you guys were all so sweet and inviting. So I just wanted to get to know you a little bit better and see if we can learn from the things that you've learned over time.
All right.
Okay. So could you just let me know what got you into music? What got you from a kid in high school to now?
Okay, yeah. I wasn't in band or anything in school, but I always wanted to play an instrument, and I got into a friend group that were into playing guitar and stuff. So for my 13th birthday, I begged for an electric guitar, and my parents kindly appeased my wish and got me this very cheap little guitar and an amp. And I took a few lessons, but actually we were living out of the country at the time in Singapore. It was hard to find a teacher that resonated with me. So then I just kind of became self-taught and would play within a few bands. And I think in my middle 20s, I moved to the Northwest, Pacific Northwest. And there's a real kind of DIY attitude up here. And so that kind of self-taught attitude was legitimate for a musician. Then I'm in the whole Riot Girl scene and, whatever else comes out of the Northwest. Of course, there's great trained musicians here as well, but I moved here and people just started asking me to play with them. Being queer and being in the queer scene, it's a smaller scene. So when a new queer person moves to town, especially when you're in your 20s, you're like, oh, who's that? So people found out I played. Then I was into bands that were pretty weird and experimental, maybe, especially in composition and time signatures and things like that. So maybe a little challenging. But we toured the country, put some records out, and in a van, sleeping on the floor sort of thing. And I just remained in bands and had other things going on. Went to school, worked, all these things going on, transitioned, which is a big thing that went on. But being friends with so many musicians, I would get offers sometimes to play this or playing this or playing that. And a friend of mine, who happens to be Beth's manager, posted that they were trying to put together a band to support Beth's solo thing that wasn't just a bunch of straight white men. So they were looking for queer people or women to play the instruments in the band. And so they were looking for a bass player and a keyboard player. And I put my name in the hat or whatever for the bass. They had me. I'd make an audition tape playing along to the songs and sent that in. And they were working with a music director and all these people that had to okay who was going to be in the band, and somehow they picked me. So, so that was very exciting. This would be my first foray into this like higher level professional touring kind of world or profession. I hadn't done it on that level before.
How was that transition? Because you said it was kind of like it was not very structured out in the Pacific Northwest, right? Like
right. This was just complete DIY. I had a 1983 Ford Econoline van and built a little loft in it and put our instruments under and then just travel. I mean, a lot of people start that way, I guess. I drove around the country, which was fun and something that's fun in your 20s when you're young and limber and in good shape. But as an older person now, I'm definitely appreciating this other way of touring. That's a little bit easier. Harder in other ways, but easier in most ways.
When you moved from Singapore, you said you found a community pretty much right away? Or no?
Yeah, there was, I lived in Minneapolis for a while after Singapore and had a band there. But when I moved to the Northwest, I moved to Portland first and then moved to Olympia, Washington. There was a lot going on in Olympia in the year 2000 when I was arriving there. The first Lady Fest of all time was happening that summer. So it was started in Olympia, and the first one was in 2000. And then it became this global phenomenon. Every country, not every country, but a lot of countries, a lot of major cities around the world were putting on their own Lady Fest. It was very feminist, like outside of mainstream music industry, DIY music festivals. And they're still happening today. Lady Fest Brussels or wherever. It was very exciting for this tiny town in the Northwest to be producing. There was also this rock opera called The Transfused that this band The Need put on, and it was like this huge community DIY event. What else was going on? Yo-Yo A Go-Go, Homo A Go-Go. A lot of music festivals, a lot of DIY, a lot of community built in for supporting that sort of scene. And that was very exciting.
When you went on the road, how was it? Because now you're going into like America and we know rural America is definitely a place to navigate. So how was that? What was the going deeper into the East?
Sometimes I would be concerned. I mean, luckily where we would have an audience was mostly just all in cities, bigger cities. So that's where we would go. And of course we have to drive these small towns. And it was sometimes scary, but oh my gosh, today I would be terrified. I'd be so scared to go into the rural places. I think it's way scarier now to drive through. Is that what you're asking? Like the climate of the country?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's where we're going, I guess.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I always watch, when you watch like those horror movies and you're afraid you're going to get murdered in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
So that's scary to begin with, right? Regardless. But going from somewhere that's like pretty liberal and accepting and then, having to pass through in a van, I could see how that would be scary. But it's interesting that you said that you do feel that like the climate is significantly scarier
worse
now.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I mean, and we can talk about this too, because most of the touring we do, and now I do with Beth, is overseas. So in Europe. Last time we were just in London a couple weeks ago, and I walked off the plane, and there's this guy in a Confederate flag sweatshirt and a hat with like some automatic rifles over an American flag. And it was really strange to see in the London airport. I don't know if he was just waiting for someone to get off the plane, but if I seen that in the US, I would be scared. Like, I'd be like looking around for the exits, like what's this guy going to do? But it is because of gun laws in other countries, I feel so much safer in Europe than I do in the US.
Had you gone to Europe prior to touring with Beth?
I had like once with my parents and then as a kid. But as an adult, I had toured, did a little tour that didn't make any money or anything. It was just a small thing with a couple of friends of mine that asked me to play and just come along for that tour. So we just did France, mostly France and Germany then. So now, no, not this extensive. I want to get one of those maps where you put push pins in. I really, really want to get one of those because we've gone so many places and I don't want to forget.
Oh, and I hear that so much. It's like you do so much traveling and sometimes you don't even know what country you're in.
Oh, for sure. And just never know what day it is. Even when I'm home, I don't know what day it is. It's just out of time. That kind of work is just, you're in a different universe, kind of.
Right. Yeah. And I always joke around about time travel, but I mean, it's for real. It's
true.
like in Inception, it's like you need what's the little thing that...
Oh, what did they take?
I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a little like token that you have to like keep to...
Oh, the token, the spinning thing?
Yeah.
The top?
The top, yeah. What's your top? What keeps you grounded?
It's hard. It's actually hard to feel grounded ever. Trying to see my friends when I'm home, and my things that most make me feel most grounded is probably yoga, going to the gym, just working out, being physical, being with my friends, and one thing we like to do, my friends and I, is play ping pong. We play a lot of ping pong, so that helps me feel grounded. Just doing the things that really make me feel joy. Swimming. I'm trying to swim a lot, but I guess that's a lot of physical activity, and mentally, I mean, it helps you mentally, of course.
Yeah, and where do you find the time?
I mean, I do that when I'm home, but we're gone a lot, so it's hard on tour to keep it up. I don't know. I mean, I think you're gonna later on be talking maybe with Jake, who I tour with, and he's pretty disciplined when he wants to be about getting daily exercise. So he's kind of an inspiration. I try to keep up with him. But, a lot of times we'll do 2 days on or 3 days on in the bus. Then we'll have a day off in a hotel. So whenever there's a hotel, and we've been there a while, I've adjusted to the time zone, I'll try to use the gym at the hotel. Usually as best I can do. And if it's in the summer, Jake will go on a jog, and maybe Kelly too, who also tours with us. And so we'll all do that together or something. When I'm home, I get to do those things almost daily. So
yeah, that's really nice finding some people. And that's something that I noticed about you guys, because I actually did talk to Kelly too, and she told me that she's a runner. She loves to run.
Oh, you already talked to Kelly?
I did. I talked to Kelly, yeah. And I loved that you guys seem to jive so well.
Yeah. And I think we've lucked out, and maybe Kelly's talked about it more. Both Kelly and Jake have way more experience touring with like being the gun for hire on tour. Kind of like this artist needs a band and they get hired on and go. So you kind of never know what the vibe's going to be with everyone. I'm sure you're just jumping into it, not knowing anyone. And that's how I jumped into this, not knowing anybody. I mean, I kind of knew Beth, but nobody else. And we lucked out, I think, because everyone's so sweet and so nice and easy. It's not hard at all. No drama, no. But I think, especially Kelly had some stories of harder times, especially when she was younger, being like the only woman in a band. It's hard, rough on the road, spending that much time.
So in Europe, when you guys are touring and everything, I know you guys are pretty popular over there. Is there like a big community in a lot of places? You're telling me it's pretty different. You feel a lot safer over there. So what's the climate like? And would the average person from here who is LGBT, would they feel comfortable maybe focusing on a career in music over there versus in the U.S.?
That's interesting. I mean, I don't know, because I only know the specific way that I've been experiencing Europe. And definitely with Beth, she's so out as a queer person and is political about that. So the people that come to our shows are There's a lot of queer people, a lot. And she crosses out of that specific box in Europe, especially because she's so popular there. So I guess I just I don't know. That's a hard question because I'm not sure. Specifically for transgender people, I've done some research and like what countries are most trans friendly. And interestingly enough, this is just a Google search, so who knows if it's true or not, but I had saw that Norway is the most transgender friendly country in Europe. But honestly, yeah, I don't feel unsafe there. No. I mean, even though they have had tragedies, like gun violence at for example, the Bataclan in Paris, which is now rebuilt, and we play there a lot when we go back there. So even in Europe, I feel safer, but at a venue, a big venue, a big club or something, I'll still be like, okay, where are the emergency exits? There's that other shooting. Gosh, this is depressing. Was it Ariana Grande or something?
Yeah, it was in Manchester.
Right? In Manchester. Yeah. Was that it? Yes, it was. Yeah. But so, yeah, I mean, God, that's intense.
So how do you guys manage it? Because, I mean, obviously you can't be dwelling on it at all times. You do have to be aware and know where the exits are and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's, as a teacher, it's something that I deal with as well because of school shooting.
Sure.
Oh
so my gosh, isn't that wild? That has to be in our minds, Yeah,
I always tell the kids, I say it kind of jokingly. I'm like, shut the front door. And, they all think I'm saying something else. But but really, I'm just like, no, you guys, first day of school, I have to tell them, hey, when I ask you guys to shut the front door, like, I'm being serious.
Right.
It's the safest thing to do. I'm trying to protect you. And it does. It sucks having to have that conversation. And you can't dwell on it, but it's real. How do you go about, especially when you're like at a venue, like the Bataclan that had it was like a huge thing.
Yeah. And that place it's like an old European building. It's just nooks and crannies. There's not a lot of easy escape routes. I mean, they're such an amazing venue and what they've been through and that they rebuilt it. And I think there's so much pride around that place now. And not that there wasn't before, but just this extra community, stronger community. So that place in particular, they've definitely upped security. And I've noticed in a lot of clubs that security is pretty high, which is good. So that is some sense of comfort. Also, the tour manager, whoever it is, we always have the best tour managers that are just really on it. So a lot of touring is, I just kind of feel like a giant baby because it's just someone telling me where to be and what to do. It's like there's no responsibility for me to know what's going on because the tour manager is so on it and you just kind of have to go along with it. Sometimes it's frustrating being like, I just want some autonomy here, but it's best just to go along with what the tour manager is telling you to do. Because they know they're in it deep. A great tour manager, I know they're looking for the exits. I know that if anything happens, they're telling us what to do. So there's some safety in that.
I 100% noticed that about MJ. I remember being at Lincoln Hall.
Yeah.
And there was like one security guard. And she's like, whoa, no. We need to get this taken care of right now. And so I thought that was fabulous. So with music, is there something that you didn't expect about getting into music that just threw you for a loop and then you had to learn how to adjust?
I feel like it wasn't like my main goal. I thought I'm going to be a professional musician that tours. Like, I know Kelly and Jake, they have much more experience than I do. So I kind of feel like right place, right time, kind of got lucky that I got this gig. And so everything's kind of been a surprise. I was scared. I didn't know what to expect. We had to go down to LA and meet everyone for the first time and did this music director, and we rehearsed probably 10 hours a day for 4 weeks without a day off. to learn all the material and get up to the level that we should be at. That was the first when we were just meeting each other. Now, whenever we tour again, we'll get together and rehearse. But it's a lot more casual, and we only need a day pretty much to run through the set and everything. But back then, yeah, it was get there maybe 11 or noon and work till like 8 to 11. And just going in songs and playing things over and over and getting our sound, dialing our sounds in to make it sound good together. Because these are room full of people who've never played music together before. So that was interesting. But I think I've adjusted great. I mean, yeah, just not have been over there in a while in years and forgetting what jet lag is really like. I mean, that's an easy answer, jet lag, but it's true. I got in big trouble. The first show we played was in Berlin for this tour. We flew there. I hadn't been to Europe in a few years. Lobby call in the hotel was like 3 p.m. I'm like, it's about 10 a.m. And I just arrived. I'm like, I'm just going to take a nap. I'll wake up way before 3. That's like in so many hours. And it was past 3. My phone's ringing. I got, do you ever meet, oh, you haven't met Gina, our tour manager in Europe. She will let you know when you did something wrong. So just remembering, wow, yeah, jet lag's real.
Oh, yeah, you can't trust your internal clock at all. So
No,
you didn't set an alarm?
I didn't.
Yeah, but you don't realize, like, your body's literally like, what? Like, what? I don't know what's going on. Like, how can you trust me? It's like trusting, like, your drunk best friend to get you home after a night out. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yes. That was not.
Oh, man. No, that's really cool. So is there anything that you learned out on the road in Europe? Even if, just about the culture, anything that's interesting?
Sure. I mean, just so much. It's been fun playing with, or just getting to spend a lot of time with Kelly, the guitar player, who's British, and then a lot of times our guitar tech, Mark, he's British, and a lot of times our sound person might be British. So getting to know kind of British slang, British lingo a little bit better, that's been fun, just because I get it every day from these guys, So what they call things, like they call us, do you know what they call a swimsuit?
What?
In England, in the UK?
No.
A bathing costume.
Bathing costume? Like that bathing costume? A
bathing costume. And they call it pick, like a guitar pick. They call it plectrum.
Plectrum or plectrum?
Plectrum.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I'm sure they're like, you call it what?
In England, they do, is it Sunday roast or what is that?
Yeah, Sunday roast. It's been a while, but if we're in the UK, in London, mostly with a day off on a Sunday, we'll try to get together and do a Sunday roast just at a local pub. It's usually just, I don't know, I'm sure it's a specific menu. I don't know, some like meat pie. Meat pie?
Yeah. Pasties and meat pies.
Like there's some meat pie thing happening, potato something. I don't know. I don't remember.
But is that like a thing that they do?
They do. Everyone does it. Yeah, people do it. Like it's very common for everyone to do that on Sundays, I guess.
So tea time and Sunday roast.
Even our vegan punk friends, they have vegan Sunday roast.
That's brilliant.
How comforting is that, though? It's like some weekly tradition.
It's nice. It's sitting down with your tour family and...
Yeah, we usually try to do a big dinner together on whatever day off that seems appropriate. We like to do that. Because everyone becomes on a team. You're all on a team. When you get on that bus, the bus driver comes to dinner, everyone. So there's a lot of people on the bus, maybe 12.
So how do you get from London to France?
Usually we all get on the bus in London, if that's where we're starting. And we do often start there. And then we just take the ferry.
So the whole bus just on a ferry?
Goes on the ferry, and you're supposed to go upstairs. But a lot of times it's like 2 a.m.
Upstairs
so
on the
some
bus?
people stay upstairs on the boat.
On the boat. Okay. And
on the
so
ferry.
Are the buses in Europe, they're 2 floors, right?
They're 2 floors,
They're double deckers or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you're supposed to go up on the ferry.
Yeah. Because when you're on a ferry in a car, you're not supposed to stay in your car. Because if it sinks, you're kind of trapped.
Yeah, you're stuck. It's like Titanic.
So it's actually kind of scary, and I try not to think about it, but usually I'll just stay on. Actually, every time I think I've stayed on and slept instead of going up.
Stayed on the bus?
Stayed on the bus. Yeah, some people stay on the bus. It's scary.
Yeah.
If you think about it, but I don't know.
Well,
You need your sleep,
You can't sit there dwelling on what could happen, right?
I do not like that. I do not like that specific leg of tour. When we have to go on the ferry on a bus, I don't like it. But that's how we mostly get around. I think one time we took the train, but that also goes underwater. In the channel.
There's a really intense train system in Europe, right?
Yeah, there is. In the best kind of way.
Have you ever been on the trains alone?
Not alone.
No, just with someone who knew how to navigate.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Tour manager or.
Yeah. So a tour manager is a good tour manager is very helpful, huh?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It would be complete chaos. And we're all like, I just turned 44. We're all like old enough to be able to be like, I can figure this out, but it still would be chaos if we didn't have a tour manager.
That's amazing. Yeah. So the German teacher at my school, so I teach Spanish, but she teaches German. And she mentioned that in Germany, and I know you guys have been to Germany a few times, a lot, probably. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
I love Germany. Yeah.
She said that a lot of times there are like little pubs and things, but they're hidden. Like you have to knock on, go through a door that goes through like another little like courtyard, and that's hidden from all the tourists because they try to keep all the tourists away.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like,
wow,
yes.
I'll have to ask my German friends about that.
Yeah, that's what she says. And she said she did become fluent in German when she was drinking there in college. So,
German is the one language that I did try to learn most from traveling. I found it easier.
Have you been picking anything up?
Yeah, at first, for sure, I was doing the Duolingo app.
That owl is so mean. Yeah.
Owl.
He sends you these threatening messages for not practicing. That's funny. So how did that work for you?
Oh, pretty well. I mean, now I feel way out of practice, so I'm not going to try to embarrass myself by speaking to you in German, but I did. I got some compliments on my accent, my German, when I was there. So that's definitely one I think about going back to as far as learning a language. But I'd love to learn French, but it seems it's a lot harder for me to pick it up more than German. I mean, I guess English is Germanic language, so maybe it's easier. And I took Spanish in high school, so I can do some basic stuff. But Spanish in Spain is different.
It is, yeah. There's the vosotros. Oh, that's fun. So you guys also, so Morocco is a French, is it territory, colony, or just like French culture that comes from? Because the French
in Morocco?
They speak French there, right?
Were they?
But do you remember going to Morocco?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that was my first time on the African continent. It was interesting because, unfortunately, and I feel like such a jerk sometimes for not being able to research every culture everywhere we're going before we get there, because a lot of times it's like spur of the moment, or you're just in so many places every day, you're in a different place. It's hard to keep up. So when I went to Morocco, and I would have liked to have done more research as well, but yes, it was fascinating, and we got to see some of the old called the old, was it Medina neighborhood, which stalls, the chickens and walking everywhere. And, it was labyrinthine marketplaces, we were walking through and, but you're right. They do speak French there. No one spoke French to us.
Does that happen a lot? Everyone just speaks English to you by default? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, no, speak to me in German so I can learn.
Kelly also has an interesting story about her experience there with a different band. But when we were there, we definitely got literally taken for a ride by a taxi driver when we were trying to get to this one place. And he was taking us all around and tried to drop us off at a different place, which was his friend's store. They wanted us to buy stuff there. And I mean, obviously they're in need of, to make a living and all this. And so they're like, maybe Americans or Europeans might be a target. We're at their will, because we don't know where we're going. But other than that, being in Morocco, also, you don't know what's polite. What are the standards of, like at our show, everyone was sitting down in their seats and they sat, it was kind of like a fancy event or something.
The entire show?
I mean, there were people in the back, younger people who were like standing and, but you want to be respectful, when you go to and not say or do anything that's going to be offensive or whatnot. That's why I guess it's good to do some more research before you go places you've never been.
That's interesting. And it makes so much sense that, let's say you're putting a tour together and actually just taking in like that culture aspect and just giving some like little cliff notes on, what to expect and like what's okay and what's not okay. That might be helpful.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. That would be helpful. I mean, I think, it was probably Gina with us. It might have been a different tour manager, but, an experienced one has been there before and will be like, oh, hey, by the way, don't do this or this. But yeah, having a real thing being like, what's polite and what is offensive would be very
that's
helpful.
funny. And it's like that's not anything I would have ever like thought of, right? Because it's one of those things that you don't realize you need until you need it.
Right. Exactly. Like, oh, oops, I don't know what polite here.
So what's it like for them to be sitting and you trying to put on a show? How does that feel?
Well, I think it's harder for maybe Beth because she's the lead person of the band and she's the focal point. So it's probably harder if the crowd isn't also seem into it. That it would be hard to also be yourself to be into it. But it felt very warm and that they were in it, enjoying themselves. It was just a little bit milder with them sitting.
But you can sense like the good vibes. It's just not like up and crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
So where are the fans crazy?
Where are the fans crazy? Gosh.
I just remember, so I took my son to the Sam Smith show at United Center. Thanks to you guys. And we were sitting by some girls and I was like, hey, do you want to do this for a living? Like, do you want to grow up to be like Sam Smith? And he's like, no. I was like, why not? He's like, these girls are crazy.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't handle all these fangirls. So is there any place that's really, I mean,
no,
the opposite? No? Or just the opposite of Morocco? Yeah.
The opposite of Morocco? Oh, gosh. The crowds are great. I mean, London's always a good time. And Beth had so many friends there. And, I mean, the fans are never too crazy. Sometimes, I guess, where were we? Maybe in Paris last time we were there. Someone was following us in our cab back to the hotel. So the tour manager had the cab stop, got out, and was like, hey. Yeah.
Wow.
So sometimes there's like people who are a little too fanatic, waiting after the show. But that's so good about talking to everybody and taking pictures with everyone. So it never gets too scary.
Yeah. Do you guys do a lot of meet and greets after the show?
Not a ton, no, but usually after we're done and after we've all like chilled out in the green room and got changed out of our show clothes and taken showers and stuff and we're going back to the bus. No one really cares about talking. I mean, people ask us for photos and stuff, but everyone wants to talk to Beth. So, Intricacies so good at making sure everyone feels special and like they got some time with her. So I guess if that's a meet and greet, you just have to wait for hours outside of the door. Yeah.
Right, just waiting for her to be done now. What about like radio stuff? Do you guys do like promo things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've done, what was that? Mornings Become Eclectic? Is that what it's called?
Oh, yeah, on KCRW, yeah. MBE.
Yeah, we did that, and that was really fun. Down in LA, we went down there and recorded a lot of songs for that show. That was great. We've done some BBC stuff a couple times. Sometimes we'll just play like an acoustic song, or like a couple of acoustic versions of the song on the show for them, but Beth's got the gift of gab too, so she's really fun to interview for people on the radio or TV. Because we do TV as well, a lot. We've done some shows in I guess, Germany, France, and England, and then we've done a few here in the U.S. James Corden and Seth Meyers. Oh, Seth Meyers. I got my Seth Meyers shirt on.
Oh, yeah, late night. So I remember when I went to meet you guys at the show in Portland, and I was going to drive up to Seattle while you guys went to Vancouver. Beth asked me to take a bunch of toiletries to a shelter in Portland because you guys collect those.
Yeah.
Could you tell me about that?
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, our tour manager, Mary Jo, she's done a lot of tours with other artists, and that's just something I think she started because we do go to so many hotels. If we're gone for a month or two and we're not on the bus, we're in a hotel. So she just told us to start collecting those things. She started that and it was great. So we just had a big box on the bus and everyone would throw those free toiletries you get at the hotel in there. And then she says she likes to donate to women's shelters, LGBT, reach out shelter organizations, and probably just homeless organizations. So that's cool. Yeah. Good on Mary Jill for starting that. Because that's something so easy we can do.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And I didn't realize it was MJ who did that. But that's really neat. I like the idea of being able to be helpful, right? Being able to do something to help while you're out and advocate in one way or another. I do feel that people who are out and they're in front of people, it's almost like you have a responsibility to do some good for the world. I don't know.
Right. Yes. I know. It is. I mean, sure, everyone should, but yeah, it's like, okay, you're kind of a little bit more visible than other people in a way. And so how are you going to at least try to do some good, When
it comes to things that you've learned, so is there any advice that anyone has given you when you were really green and just fresh that helped you?
Yeah, little practical stuff for sure. Actually, the music director that we worked with originally, Mike Choi, he was a real tough on us, but he made us do the work and become better and everything. I mean, he has his method of dealing with jet lag, just didn't work for me. But other things like get T-Mobile. I do not work for T-Mobile, but they have unlimited data and text in every country without having to buy an extra little overseas package or anything like that.
So you mean you don't have to pay $500 to $700?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good tip. I mean, it really has worked out. Everyone else has to pay like $50 a day or something. Not that much, but a lot. For you use their phone and it's so, you need your phone. I mean, it's so much easier to get around with maps. If you don't have your maps or you can't
lost.
call a car.
Where's the North Star? Oh, it's cloudy. I have no idea. Not that I could find it anyway.
Right. So yeah, that's one. And I don't work for T-Mobile, and who knows what their plans are now. But at the time when I was, also you get free Wi-Fi on planes with T-Mobile. Isn't that weird? It's so weird. When I go to sign on a plane, if there's a special section for T-Mobile people, you just put your phone number in, and then you get free Wi-Fi. Yeah. So,
I'm in shock.
For travelers.
I had no idea. Wow.
T-Mobile should hire me as a rep.
Right. Like sponsorship deal.
Or reach out. No. Yeah.
Oh, that is so funny. But yeah, those things are stuff where like, somebody who's going overseas for the first time, like they have no idea. And I mean, if you spend all your money on all these things that you really do need, you could end up in the hole when you come home.
Right.
So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, because of all the expenses. Well, another good thing I learned, which I should have heeded right away, was, when we first started this, you're not guaranteed work. You're not guaranteed a certain amount of work. When an album comes out, maybe the record cycles a year, maybe it's 2 years, and maybe the touring is very intermittent. You can't count on a certain amount of money when you start a project like this. So I'm like, maybe it'll be over after this 1 week tour. Maybe they'll replace me and I wasn't good enough or whatever it is. And, but the music director before we started touring, like, you should just move out of your place and not have a place for a while so you don't have to pay rent, because you might be out for a year and a half, or you might be out for 2 years, on tour. And I should have done that. I would have saved so much money, because it ended up that, we're out almost 2 years. So, I mean, off and on, but a lot of touring. I should have done that. That would have saved a lot of money. So I eventually was able to get a subletter. So that was helpful. But yeah, I should have just moved out. I think I would have saved so much money.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I mentioned to, I think it was to Macy Taylor in like an episode of the podcast that I heard the term professional homeless person. And yeah, he also said that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's Jake. Have you talked to Jake yet?
Not yet. I will. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's all about that. He's all about his vagabond life. Yeah. He hasn't had a real place to live in years.
That's wild. Oh, man.
But it is a big saving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And do you have any stuff coming up? You said you guys are going to be in Paris. Do you have any other projects happening?
Well, Beth's on a TV show on Showtime called On Becoming a God in Central Florida, and it's really good, starring Kristen Dunst. So she's busy with that. And also this tour cycle's over for her solo album that came out a couple of years ago. So I think next step would probably be writing a new album and then get back on the touring, the touring circuit again.
Do you think you're going to be recording on this one?
I hope so, yeah. That'd be great. I mean...
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, like I'm trying to do some writing. And
that would be cool.
But I'm also enjoying being home for a little chunk and haven't been playing as much as I should be.
What do you do when you're home besides yoga? Do you have pets?
Yeah, have cats.
Tell me about the pets.
I live with Beth now because Beth and I are together, so we have a cat. And we like to just enjoy the house and cook a meal for yourself. Like simple things you forget when you're touring so much is cooking, driving a car. Like I love just to drive my car because I never get to drive. Not that bus. I wouldn't want to drive that bus. But simple pleasures like that. And then, of course, catching up with all my friends. And I live in Portland now, and I love the Northwest. The Northwest summer is the best. Trying to just enjoy being in one place, sitting still for a while, vegging out.
Sometimes the best thing is to not do anything at all, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was great talking to you. And
thank you.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much, Ted.
Thank you so much for joining us on The Tour Life. Please remember to rate and review the show on Apple and Spotify to help us elevate these important conversations. Join our community and get access to exclusive behind-the-scenes content. And you'll also be the first to hear about upcoming events and giveaways by connecting with us on socials at the Tour Life Podcast and at Q101 Chicago.
When you have sports mixed with your pop culture, along with humor and celebrity interviews, your earbuds are enjoying The Rich Eisen Show. Women's basketball legend, Sue Bird.
Caitlin Clark, obviously, front and center for the WNBA season. What have you seen over the first couple of games for her?
Part of professional sports is you're going to have some stretches. You're going to shoot bad. Your team's going to lose. And how do you respond to that? Everybody's clearly got their defensive game plan built around her, which is a compliment, but you got to figure it out from there.
Search for The Rich Eisen Show on YouTube or wherever you listen.